Hey everybody, this is the fourth here, and welcome to Sound Explained Dynamics. When we talk about dynamics in regards to mixing, what we're referring to is how the volume, or technically the amplitude, of a sound or a song changes over time. Dynamics have been used widely in the composition of music. You will see this on sheet music as different symbols that indicate how loudly to play a section or a single note. Some examples you may find commonly on sheet music are pianissimo, piano, forte, fortissimo, crescendo, and decrescendo. If you don't know what those mean, you can look them up if you want to, but it's not super important to know unless you plan to play sheet music. This is the case today in many genres of music. And this will always be the case because dynamics are very important in the expression of emotion or context. Let's look at talking as an everyday example. If you're angry or excited or really pumped up, you might yell and your voice will be really loud. But if you're a little bit shy or you're telling a secret or something, you're going to be talking a lot more quietly or whispering. And many forms of music use dynamics in a similar way. Classical music and symphonic music, orchestral music in general, film scores, all these kinds of music really use dynamics to express emotion and context. But in some genres, especially pop, rock, and especially electronic dance music, dynamics aren't utilized nearly as much. And they are, in some cases, just nowhere near as much as other genres of music. So if you look in my FL Studio playlist here, you'll see two different waveforms. The one to the left is Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 in C minor. And the one on the right is the 808 track by Bass Nectar. And you can see that throughout Symphony No. 5, the dynamics change a lot. And if you listen to it, the more intense parts and the more aggressive parts are played a lot louder than the more mellow parts, which are played much softer. And you can even see certain buildups that utilize dynamics to increase the tension. But if you look at and listen to the 808 track, the buildups don't increase in volume at all, and other techniques are used to create that tension instead. And the difference between the dynamic content here is really all about the style of music. The 808 track is a dance track, and you want dance music to be high energy, so you want it to be loud, you want it to be in your face, and you just want to be able to dance to it. And that's why it's more loud the whole time. So dynamics in a song are important for expression, but they are also important to the character of individual sounds. So I'll show you this with a kick drum sample here. And if you look over at this oscilloscope, you can see the change in amplitude or the dynamics. And you'll see it has a nice peak, and then it decays to 0. And when we mix, we have a bunch of different tools that can help us control these dynamics. And that's what this whole section is about. So here I'm going to put on a few different effects, just so you can hear the difference and see the difference on the oscilloscope. So you can see when I compress it there, it loses a lot of its punch. But that loss of punch can be traded for an increase in overall level. And here's another example of cutting off that punch. And those two examples are both pretty extreme. So here's what it sounds like if you reduce that dynamic range just a little bit. It still retains some of that punch, but it'll allow you to get that overall level louder. And this last example is pretty different. And what I'm doing here is actually the opposite of compression. And you can hear it makes the drum a lot tighter. It's a lot snappier. And I kind of like that sound. So all I've been changing about this kick is really the dynamics. And you can hear it, it really changes the character of the sound. So dynamics are obviously very important to the character of any given sound. And in this section of the tutorial, I will be explaining all of these tools in a lot more depth and providing you with a lot more examples of how you can modify the dynamics of various sounds.